What's up, everybody? This is Rafael Lovato Jr. I'm here back with the Save Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. This is episode 9, very special episode. It is a leap day. Only happens once every 4 years. So here we are on Leap Day 2016 with one of the world's best, someone I'm a huge fan of, got a lot of respect for, and that is the Spider-Man, JT Torres. JT, what's up, man? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me on today. It's an honor to be here, and I'm excited.
Great, great. Well, it's been quite a year for you already. I mean, you're back, you're healthy. You just
Oh yeah,
competed at the Houston Open last weekend. Everyone out there knows that you had a knee surgery and
yep,
you were out of the game for a little while. We missed you hardcore at the ADCC.
yeah.
Definitely. We've been missing you, and now you're back. So, tell us about the injury, the road back, and how it felt to be back on the mats last weekend at the Houston Open, and just let us know where you're at now with life and how everything's been on this journey back.
Absolutely. So, I mean, first of all, it's an amazing feeling to be back. Be back doing something that I love and I'm truly passionate about. But I mean, these injuries do happen in our sport, unfortunately, and it's part of it. Training hard and training to be, the world champ. It comes along with the territory. So, I would say, you know, my body has taken wear and tear over the last couple of years of just hard training, but it all really started when I was actually training for the Worlds this past year, and I would say it was probably like a week and a half before I competed, and someone jumped close guard, and we were deep into some couple of rounds, and people were getting tired, people cutting weight, so sometimes your technique's not all there when you're dead tired, and people tend to make mistakes and things like that. So someone jumped close guard and they missed, and they landed right on my knee and just buckled my knee right in, and
Oh man.
yeah, I instantly felt something was wrong. My knee blew up right there and then. So right away I iced it, and it's tough. I mean, I'm sure you know all about this being a world class competitor yourself. Getting an injury like that week and a half before the biggest tournament of your life, it's difficult, especially when you're trying to make weight. It's difficult for you mentally. So I was going through a lot of emotions then, but I stayed confident and I still competed. I did well. Obviously, I didn't come out with the goal that I wanted to come out with, becoming world champion. I ended up placing third place, got the bronze. But I definitely do feel that injury held me back a little bit. But I didn't use it as an excuse. I kept going, and I went out there to compete to win. And then after the Worlds, I was signed up to go compete at ADCC in Sao Paulo, and I was going to continue on the journey, which probably wasn't the smartest thing. So I right after the Worlds, I jumped right into ADCC camp, and I didn't go to a doctor. I didn't get the knee checked out. I just put it in the back of my mind. I said, you know what, it's okay. And I would just ice it every day. And week after week, it just started getting worse, and it started locking on me. And I've never had something like that happen to me where my knee would just lock and I could barely walk the rest of the day. And forget about training. I couldn't even lock a half guard.
Yeah.
So I knew there was something seriously wrong, and then I had to, be realistic with myself, especially competing at a tournament like ADCC, another huge tournament, a lot of leg locks involved, a lot of scrambles. I feel there's so many more scrambles involved in no-gi where you can easily tweak your knee. So
Definitely.
I decided to go see a doctor, and I went to see a doctor here in San Diego. I went to go see a good a sports specialist, and a friend of mine recommended this doctor to me, and he's worked with some of the San Diego Padres, some LA Lakers. So when I went to see him, I was confident in what he was going to tell me. And basically, he told me I had a torn meniscus, and he said it was torn pretty badly. And he said, you can still compete, but he told me at the same time, why would you go compete if you can't perform 100% or even close to 100%? So I decided to sit back and get my surgery and fix my knee, and they ended up taking out 50% of my meniscus.
Wow.
So they removed half of it, and I asked the doctor if that was going to affect me any time soon. He said, you probably got another good 10, 15 years left in your knee until you start feeling some pain again. So I figure I'll be okay for that time period. And hopefully by that time, there's some new technology out there that can fix the knee up even better. But so I got the knee fixed this past September.
When did you
I
have
went
your surgery? What like yeah, go ahead.
September 24th.
Okay.
I had the surgery.
Uh-huh.
And now I did right after the surgery. I got right into physical rehab, and I did that for two and a half months, and I was on it. I was doing my rehab the same way I would prepare for a tournament. I was going in. I would never miss a session. I was even doing the exercises the therapist gave me to do at home.
Mm-hmm.
I was going at it 100%, and I think because of that mentality I brought to my rehab, I was able to bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
So I was probably out, I would say, 3 months without doing anything except just these little workouts I was able to do. But one thing I did do was stick around the academy, stick around the training, go to the school and watch the guys train. I was able to, help coach my professor, Andre Galvao, a little bit for his super fight he had against Hamlo Bahal in the Beirut Challenge. So I stayed involved with the jiu-jitsu aspect of the competition and all that, which I think really helped me come back even sooner too, kept me mentally sharp. And so fast forward a couple months, I signed up for the Houston Open because, I definitely want to compete at the big tournaments. I like to step up and challenge myself and try to beat the best out there. So Pan Ams were coming up, and, once Pan Ams swings by, the Worlds is right around the corner. So I knew I wanted to step on the mats and test myself before these big tournaments, and I saw the Houston Open was a great opportunity to do that. And I went out there, a little nervous. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel out there, but everything went well. I felt great. I got 2 submissions in both of my matches, and I'm just glad everything went well, and I'm excited for the next challenge, Pan Ams.
Oh, nice. Well, I want to go back and touch on just a couple things about your comeback. A couple things that you said. I had a pretty serious injury myself at the end of 2014, and had to undergo a long recovery process that took me right around 7 months before I was really back. And I didn't. Going through that process, I had no real understanding of what I was about to get into, because it was my first surgery of my life, and just going in and dealing with the surgery, the pain pills, the therapy, all those really tough days. A little, I say a little, but it was actually a lot of depression when you can't train, you can't do anything. And one thing you said that I thought was really special was how you were still going to the academy, you were still a part of your team, motivating everybody. I remember seeing some videos on Instagram you were posting, and Galvao was posting when the guys were training. Galvao had that super fight, and other guys had no-gi worlds and stuff, and you were very much a part of the camp. And as a teacher, when any one of my students have to take some time off due to injury, we're always telling them, keep coming to class, watch, take notes, try to stay in the rhythm and the routine of coming, so that way when you do get healthy, it's not hard to come back. You don't get too far from jiu-jitsu. And also while you're around, you can still learn a lot by watching and still studying and being in on the training sessions. And so, it got to the point that even whenever I came back, I felt like I had still gotten better, even though I was away for such a long time. And so, I just want to hear from you, like, how that helped you, stay positive. Did you have some really bad, tough times in there? And, what do you have to say to anyone else that gets hurt, and advice for them? Because coming back, I had just an overwhelming amount of messages and support from people that were telling me they went through the same thing, and I realized, man, I didn't even know I was helping them or inspiring them through that sort of stuff that they were going through, so just elaborate a little more and tell me more of your thoughts on all that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, first of all, you've been inspiring me since I was a white belt, man. So, I did follow, your recovery and all that, and I saw you get right back into the competition scene and just killing it, man. Pressure passing everyone. So, I mean, seeing you do it, man, really did inspire me and gave me hope at the same time. But 100%, I mean, especially the first couple weeks right after my surgery, I felt hopeless, man.
Yeah.
Like this is kind of the same similar situation to you. This was my first surgery ever. So I was worried, like my career flashed before my eyes, and I was like, man, would I ever be able to feel the same again? I have no idea. And I know there's, worse injuries out there, and, there's, worse knee injuries out there. But when something like that happens to you, you think the worst sometimes. So I was definitely doubtful about the situation at the time, but I kept faith, and like I said, guys like you kept me inspired, and seeing other people go through and recover kept me inspired, and just watching the guys train also kept me motivated. And just like you said, right when I came back, of course I had to build my cardio up a little bit again and all that, and my timing, but I felt I was better than before. Where when I was sitting out watching the guys train, watching a lot more footage, I felt I learned a lot more in the time where I was sitting out. It sounds crazy, but I definitely feel my technique went up. And so when I first got back, I was kind of amazed. I was like, oh wow, I feel better than before, I guess. And I almost felt like my entire body healed up too. Letting my body sit down and letting my knee recover also healed up my entire body, because sometimes we don't realize it. Training so much day in and day out, your whole body sometimes all tweaked up and things like that, and we don't even notice it because we just keep going day in and day out. But when I sat out, I felt my entire body felt a lot different, a lot better and stronger. So that was awesome when I felt that. When I came back to training, I'm like, okay, some time off did help. So it did a lot better than worse, in my opinion. So I was super glad when I came back and was able to get back on the mats right off the bat, and just, keep training hard and working towards my goal.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for your nice words there. Did you feel like you had a different mindset as well, like maybe a new appreciation, a new motivation, coming back, almost like a new person, going through that process, going through the tough time. For me, I totally felt like it was a pivotal moment, not just in my career, but in my life as a whole, to take a moment to have a timeout. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in the grind. What's next? What's the next tournament? Train for this, train for that, and we're just going one camp after another. And you can, as competitors, with that warrior mindset, we always kind of stay motivated, but
Right.
it can be sometimes a tiring motivation that we don't really realize. And then when I feel like I had everything put on pause, and I had to come back and look at everything else around my life, and I just felt like a whole new mindset came over, and the appreciation level went up. The appreciation of being able to do this art, and test ourselves and challenge ourselves. When it became so normal, coming back, it's like, man, this is very special, and I'm not going to take this lightly. And you kind of you feel like a new motivation, a new mindset, and you maybe have a new appreciation for your body as well, and you want to take better care of it. Do you feel like you have some of those vibes now going into this year? Where's your mindset at? Do you feel like you're a fresh new JT right now?
Yeah, I feel like I'm a brand new JT, man. Just like you said, man, you hit it spot on. Like when I came back, I felt a bigger appreciation for the art. And when something that you love is taken away from you, you realize how much you really do love it. And I didn't realize I loved it that much, to be honest with you. I'm like, wow, man, like, when I'm in it day in and day out, I don't realize, how much I really care about this art until it's taken away from you. And I know it sounds kind of corny and cliche, but it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing for my body. There would be days where my body's beat down, and I'd be like, you know what, I'm going to go in for another session, or I'm going to stay up late and, watch Netflix all night or something, Where now I definitely want to take care of my body a lot better. Not saying I didn't do a good job of it, but sometimes I felt that I would push my body too far sometimes and not let the body recover, not give it proper rest. And I mean, the body needs it. I mean, recovery and rest is part of the equation, in my opinion, of
Yeah.
success. So now I feel I'm a lot smarter in the way I train. I mean, we're just humans. We're not robots. You can't. It's impossible for you to go hard, day in and day out, every day, 7 days a week. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at training at in a smarter way now. You know, I'm approaching it in a much I'm more mature about it, really, and I'm very aware of it. I listen to my body a lot more. I make sure I'm giving it the right nutrition it needs, and just keeping it fueled up to go for the next session. And if I feel there's something I need to taper back, I'll do it. You know, and it's almost like I had an ego within myself, like, no, I can't stop. You know, I'm being a punk if I don't go, if I don't do the extra 2-mile run right now. No, you gotta listen to your body, and I mean, it's just part of the game. Like I said, you gotta have the hard training, but you also have to have the rest involved with that equation.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Well, that's really great to hear. You know, definitely excited to see you back in it this year. And I know with this, you know, this new JT that you are right now, new mindset and appreciation and, you know, a little more careful and scientific approach to your training and everything, I'm sure you're going to be at your best. You know, one thing my coach always says, as hard as you train, you have to rest even harder, you know,
100%.
And so I definitely learned a lot from my experience, and you know, it's great to put that out there for everybody, and even let some of these young kids know, like, look, yeah, you got to get your hard training, but you know, you can't be going out every night. You know, you gotta rest, you know, and do your stretching, do your foam rolling, you know, your breathing. You know, have to have your lighter sessions in there, your recovery days. It can't just be full blown 100% every day. But
I completely agree with you.
So, you know, we hear about where you are right now, and you know, obviously you're one of the stars in the game. So, you know, people have known you for a long time. But in case there's some people out there that aren't too familiar with your story, please share a little bit. I know you got started when you were very young, and you know, you've happened to live in different states and you know, kind of train, you know, at different places, and just share a little bit about your story, your background, and you know, let everyone know, you know, the man behind the man.
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, I've been involved in martial arts since I was probably around 11 years old, and it started with karate and wrestling for me. And you know, my karate teacher, I gotta give him credit. You know, to this day, now that I think about it, he was very open-minded and willing to learn many other things. So my karate instructor, this guy named Peter Clemente, back in New York, he was putting jiu-jitsu almost in his program that he was teaching within his karate school, and he would teach pure jiu-jitsu once a week, and he actually had like an affiliation under Hoist Gracie at the time. But you know, I never went to the jiu-jitsu class. I just kept doing karate, and then on the weekends I would go wrestle. And it was actually my karate instructor too who pushed me to go to wrestling. He got me involved with wrestling.
Wow.
And so he was really into the mixed martial arts thing back then, and he was open-minded to that. So I give him a lot of credit to Peter Clemente out there if he's listening. Hopefully he is. But so it all started there for me. And then by the time I was 14 years old, I got my black belt in karate. And I got to a point where I was kind of over karate, and I was about to go into high school, and I was like, I don't want to do karate anymore. I'm going to be in high school, this and that. And my karate instructor and my father pushed me to stay involved in martial arts. So I was like, you know what? I got a black belt in karate already. You know, let me try the jiu-jitsu thing. So I started going to jiu-jitsu classes at the Karate Academy, and like I said, they were once a week. And my karate instructor was a blue belt at the time. And I loved it. You know, right from my first pure straight up jiu-jitsu class, I really enjoyed it. And I said, man, I like this a lot. And I stuck with it. And, you know, 6 months into it, Hoist Gracie came around for a seminar at the school. And Hoist Gracie actually promoted me to blue belt. And which was pretty cool. I was pretty hyped up then about that. And still am today. And, you know, from there, it just took off. I said, man, this is what I want to do. And from there, I just kept going, and my my mom and dad split up, and my father moved to New Jersey. And in New Jersey, where my dad lived, there was a jiu-jitsu academy down the street from his apartment, and it was called Performance Jiu-Jitsu. And the head instructor there was Louis Montaloro, who is a black belt under Royler Gracie.
Mm-hmm.
So when I would go see my dad on the weekends, my dad told me, "Hey, I saw this jiu-jitsu academy down the street. You want to go check it out?" I said, "Sure, let's go." So when we went, I saw that there was a black belt instructor there, which I was amazed by because my instructor at the time was a blue belt. I was like, wow, there's a black belt here, this and that. So I started going to that academy every time I would go visit my dad on the weekends. And, I mean, from there, I realized that there's, a deeper pool of training. I was training with blue belts, purple belts on the regular now on the weekends. So I was like, you know what, I need to make it up here more often. So, to my dad's credit, my dad was picking me up from New York about 2-3 times a week, and this is during when I was in high school, and my dad was working full-time job, so he really sacrificed some time of his and helped me out big time by constantly bringing me back and forth between New York and New Jersey so I can train. And from there, I was able to learn from Louis, but he also brought in a lot of guys. I was able to learn from Sal Hibero there a couple times, a few of his seminars, Royler Gracie himself. This guy Fredson Alves I learned from.
Oh, Fredson's sick. Fredson's nice.
Yeah.
He's an old friend of mine. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He almost put me to sleep back then. Actually, he did put me to sleep. Right before you go to bed, I woke him up. Whoa. But I was able to learn from a lot of great champions at that academy. So it really just opened my eyes, and it came to a time where I was just training there as much as I could, and I got my purple belt and my brown belt from Louis Montaloro, and then it came.
Now, how old were you? You must have been like 17 or 18, purple belt. I remember you fought Raider in the finals. I think it was 2007 Pan Ams. Yeah. How old? Like 17, 18?
I was 16.
Wow, you were a 16-year-old purple belt.
Yeah, I was 16-year-old purple belt.
Wow.
And then I remember Louis gave me my brown belt the day before I turned 18. So I got my brown belt when I was 17 years old.
Wow.
And the next day I turned 18, and I graduated high school, and I came to a point where, like, I fought your student Justin at the Pan Ams, and I realized, wow, man, there's a whole different level out there, because I've never felt or fought someone like Justin until that point. Even in training, I'm like, man, these guys are good,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, there's got to be more out there. So I came to the point where I was looking for more of a competition team training.
Mm-hmm.
And on the East Coast, I was competing every weekend in all the tournaments I could. And I fought this one guy named Wilson Hayes a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And I was purple belt, and we would always fight no-gi. And he would always beat me, but he would always beat me by an advantage or 2 points, something like that. Always a close call. And we became friends through that. And because we became friends, he invited me down to Philadelphia to train once.
Mm-hmm.
And he was teaching at this guy Jared Wiener's academy in Philly. So I said, yeah, I would love to come down and train. So I called up my dad. I'm like, Dad, let's go to Philly. So we started going down to Philly once a week just to train with those guys. And there was a good group of brown and blacks that were, competing for competitions and stuff like that. And I've never seen that before. So I was like, oh, wow, this is a good group. They all want to do the same thing I want to do. They want to travel to Pan Ams and all the tournaments and try to win. So I made the decision to be like, okay, this is what I need. I need to be surrounded with competitors, because in New Jersey, I was learning a lot. It was going well for me, but it was more guys who were just there to get a good workout in and just get in shape and learn jiu-jitsu, which is fine. But there weren't too many competitors there for me to train with and just bounce ideas back and forth on. So I decided to travel to Philly once a week, and then it went from 2 times a week to 3 times a week, and I was traveling a lot to train, a lot. And I was in college at the time. I was also working, but I was making the sacrifice of making that drive down to Philly. It was an hour and a half each way, but I would make it down at least 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And from there, Jared Wiener is actually Lloyd Irvin's first black belt,
mm-hmm.
and through them I met Lloyd, and after Jared and Lloyd both promoted me to black belt, Lloyd invited me to move down to Maryland to his headquarters academy, and he said, come down to Maryland, and I have an opportunity for you where you can train full time. I said, wow, train full time? I mean, that's what I've been dreaming of since I started this jiu-jitsu thing. So I said, okay, I'll let me do this. And I moved down to Maryland, and I was training under Lloyd for 5 years. And I learned a lot. I trained very hard there, and I mean, I learned a lot. There's nothing more I can really say. It really took my game to the next level, being able to train that much.
Uh-huh.
And I felt a huge difference when I started competing a lot more. I started competing a lot more on the international circuit, and I started winning. I started winning a couple titles here and there, getting some experience under my belt, and I just felt a huge difference of being able to train full time than just 2-3 times a week. So right away, it just inspired me to go even further. And I said, you know what, I can become a black belt world champion. I want to be a black belt world champion.
Was that when? Is that when you made that decision, that commitment, that goal, that dream? Was it at that point, or had you thought about that earlier on when you were purple or brown, or was it all the way until when you finally were able to start training full time that you really said that's what I was going to do?
From the very beginning, once I realized I love this, I'm like, man, I want to become a champion. And my first goal was to become to win a teens advanced division at a Naga. That was my first goal. It really was.
You wanted that sword, right?
That's my dream. Yeah, I wanted the samurai sword. I wanted the belt. I'm like, that's my goal. And I accomplished it,
Mm-hmm.
And then my next goal after that was to become to win one of those Grappler's Quest divisions or Naga divisions at blue belt, adult. And I did it, So I set all these goals for myself, little by little. Of course, right off the bat, I wanted to be the best I could be. I didn't know how far I could take it with the opportunities that I had. But I set, little goals, short-term goals, and I kept accomplishing them. And every time I accomplished one goal, I said, okay, I think I can go further. I think I can go even further now. So same thing happened to me around brown belt when I started really, it was my second year at brown belt. I really started shining a little bit more and winning a couple titles, placing some more. And I said, you know what? I think I can do this. And then Lloyd came around and gave me the opportunity to train full time. And I said, you know what? I think I can become a black belt world champion. I think I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And once I started training full time, I knew I could do it. I got close. I've been close a couple times now, and I can taste it. But that's when I truly realized my potential, when I was given the opportunity to train full time and see what I could do with my skills and my commitment and my hard work. I knew I could take it all the way. And I'm still here searching for that world title, and I'm feeling closer than ever. And I mean, it's coming up in 2 months, 2-3 months, so I'm excited.
That's right, man. That's right. Well, there's a couple things more about that I'd like to hear about. So, from living in New York, traveling to Jersey, and then Philly, then moving to Maryland, then moving to San Diego and training there. I mean, the dedication, the commitment and, sacrifice that you've had to make to, give up everything else and travel to train or completely move. Nowadays, definitely things have changed a lot. You mentioned the very beginning of your journey how, the highest people around you was a blue belt, and then you go to another place and then all of a sudden you get to train with several blues and purples, and obviously nowadays, jiu-jitsu is way more popular. There's so many high-level guys all around the country. For sure, there's still tons of people out there that don't have, access to high-level people. But I love to hear stories like yours. People that have gone through that journey and the sacrifice to search out the best they can and give everything for it. And like for me, when I teach or when I'm talking to my students or at seminars and things like that, I always tell people how much they should, really, really like, study and appreciate every bit of information and knowledge that's being passed on to them. Because nowadays you can go to a seminar with a different world champion every other weekend.
Yeah.
A lot of people train with world champions or train with guys who have been in jiu-jitsu 30, 40 plus years, and there's so
Oh yeah.
much easy accessible knowledge now, and I feel like many times it can be kind of taken for granted, and I'm sure for you, every moment that you got to be on the mats, I mean, you were going all the way to Philly, just to get on the mats with Wilson and Jared and those guys there, and you know
Yep.
um, every time you had that opportunity, it was like, you're taking your notes, you're asking your questions, you're studying. It was amazing for you, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
it was that the yeah, is that the case? And what do what is your advice, and what do you have to kind of say about that for those out there these days?
I mean, like just like you said, I mean, nowadays, I mean, jiu-jitsu is growing, day by day. So, I mean, when I was coming up through the ranks, like I had to travel just to see another blue or purple belt to roll with, or even just have a black belt teach me a technique or two. But nowadays, I mean, it's everywhere. I travel a lot, teaching seminars and stuff like that. And even when I go to these academies and all over the place, there's almost every time a black belt instructor, maybe more than one.
Uh-huh.
There's tons of belt colors throughout the academy and stuff like that. I'm like, you know, it's amazing. It's amazing how good the up and comers or the people who just want to learn jiu-jitsu for fun or fitness or self-defense have it these days. Jiu-jitsu is evolving and it's growing and it's just becoming better and better as an art. And I mean, yeah, definitely the people coming up these days have it much better. It's a lot easier to learn. I mean, you got social media everywhere. I follow your Instagram to learn techniques and all that. See you posting techniques all the time and things like that. And I remember when I was younger, I didn't even know about. I had MySpace, I think, and that was about it.
Yeah.
So just to see where it's gone today and see how the students have it these days, it's amazing. I'm happy for them. And I always think about this. At Atos here in San Diego, I teach the kids classes, the older kids, a little bit more advanced kids. And sometimes I sit back, I'm like, man, these kids don't know how good they have it, that, they have me and two other instructors the other one's a black belt and the other one's a brown belt, teaching them, just working with them. I'm like, when I was a kid, I was learning from Grappling Magazine and my instructor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I was learning
yeah.
some wrestling holds and things like that.
I was
So
watching the Henzo Gracie Craig Kukuk VHS tapes, bro.
yeah, exactly. Things like that. So I mean, the up and comers definitely have it very good these days, and it's only keep getting better for them. I mean, and I'm happy to see that because that only means jiu-jitsu is growing, and it's gonna keep growing and growing and growing, which is great for everyone.
Yeah, totally. So the other thing about all the traveling and training you've done with different teams and things like that,
Yeah.
do you feel like, I mean, obviously there's no way it hasn't, but how do you feel that has affected your style and your game development? Particularly, one thing I was interested in knowing, both, Lloyd Irvin has been very vocal about his stress and importance placed on drilling,
Oh yeah.
and then of course Galval has the book Drill to Win, and Atos is known, to be, drillers create killers and blah 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 blah. So,
Yep.
um, you know, uh, how has the different approaches, the different teams that you've trained with, how has that affected your style, particularly regarding, drilling? What are your thoughts on that sort of thing?
I mean, me being able to learn these last years from different instructors, guys from like, Jared Wiener, Wilson Hayes, and Lloyd Irvin, even my first Louis Winslow, even my first Peter Clemente, and then now Andre Galval. I mean, it's all helped my game because I've always kept an open mind to training. I've always kept a very open mind, and I've always took everything in. And I've never been a kind of person where I'm like, oh, this is only one way to look at this, and I'm only going to do it this way. I've always been a sponge when it came to jiu-jitsu. So especially coming from Lloyd's camp, where he was very big on drilling, and he instilled that in me. Because before I went to Lloyd's, I'd never really thought about drilling or looked at drilling at that. I would just roll. I just liked rolling,
Mm-hmm.
But he made me appreciate the drilling aspect of the game, where it can really sharpen up your tools and sharpen up your techniques, especially if you want to be a competitor. So, his drilling style was very straightforward. Drill one technique and drill it until you got it. Where Andre Galvao, my professor now, he very similar, where drilling is key, but drilling more transitions right into submissions and things like that. So they're both different styles,
Mm-hmm.
And because they're both different, I feel that I'm in an advantage where I was able to take both of those and add it to my game, and it's made me who I am today, and I'm grateful for that, actually. And two different styles. I would say one's more straightforward, one technique, and the other one's more transitions, chaining things together,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really helped my game.
Mm-hmm. So what does a typical training week for you look like? How much drilling versus training do you do now? Another thing, especially after undergoing surgery and things like that, are you putting more of a physical conditioning sort of like body, preparation and recovery process into your training? Just what does a typical week for you look like during the sort of comp season that we're in right now?
Yeah. So typical week for me is a very balanced one, where I'm making sure I'm doing my drilling, my tough sparring and jiu-jitsu competition team training, and weightlifting.
Mm-hmm.
I feel there has to be a good level of three of those things in your game to help you succeed. Every day before competition class in the morning, I drill for an hour. I grab a partner and we drill. We drill different techniques, different transitions. Usually for every day, I try to aim it for one thing. Where on Monday, for example, I'll just drill my back takes, just working on taking the back, getting my seatbelt tighter, getting the hooks in at the correct time. On Tuesday, it just might be submissions from the top game,
Mm-hmm.
So things like that, and then right after that, right into competition team training. And every day in the morning, I'm training jiu-jitsu, and then 3 times a week at night, instead of training jiu-jitsu, I'm lifting weights with the strength conditioning coach. And that's, to me, another thing that I've grown to appreciate strength conditioning even more as an art. I just thought strength conditioning was going to the gym on my own and just lifting some weights heavy as I could and getting stronger.
Yeah.
But there's a scientific approach to it,
Definitely.
It's an art, just like jiu-jitsu, and I have to appreciate the strength conditioning coaches, because just like a black belt instructor like yourself, you know what you're doing, and just like these guys, they know what they're doing. So if I wanted to learn jiu-jitsu, I would go to someone like you. If I want to learn strength conditioning, I would go to a coach who knows what they're doing. So that's what I'm doing this year. I'm working with a really good coach, and especially because of the injury that I've had. And I know injuries are there. I know they're real now, and I know how they can affect you. So I want to make sure I'm doing everything to get my body stronger to avoid any injuries like that again, because they go hand in hand, I feel, in my opinion. Getting your body strong, doing injury prevention and workouts and things like that makes a huge difference. And prior to my injury, I'll be honest with you, I never appreciated strength conditioning the way I should, or the way I should have been doing my entire career. But that's life. We learn as we go, and we don't look back. You just keep going forward, and you learn from your mistakes. And this year, I'm totally doing it different, and working with a professional coach who's pushing me in the right direction.
Awesome. Well, one thing we always talk about, I love to get different perspectives from on these podcasts. From numerous different people. Lots of top guys I've had the chance to talk to on here, and we share our ideas and perspectives. But this podcast was started in an effort to kind of keep the jiu-jitsu mindset and the whole essence of jiu-jitsu as pure as possible, and not let the game steer too far away from from its original roots. Not
Right.
just talking self defense wise, but with the focus being on you know, finishing, bottom line, pretty
Oh yeah.
much. And one reason why I'm such a big fan of you is your constant forward pressure. You're definitely one of the guys that is not looking to stall out the clock.
Yeah.
Have an overwhelming amount of gameplay. And just
Oh yeah.
you keep it pure. You're when you're on bottom, you're looking to sweep or submit. When you're on
Yep.
top, you're trying to pass and submit, and that's why you're one of the crowd's favorites. And so I'd like to hear from you. Uh, what your thoughts are on the game nowadays. Obviously there's ups and downs. Some tournaments look better than others.
Yep.
Some guys fight more open than others.
Yep.
But do you feel like like there should be some changes made here or there? Obviously there's a lot of different competitions to choose from now. People don't have to compete in a certain set rules, but the most respected, the most traditional tournament is the IBJJF, where we have advantages.
Yep.
Lots of rules. Sometimes it's overwhelming. It's confusing. You don't even know what's going on. It's easy to sit back and
Yep.
see some matches where you think someone's winning and they're really not.
Yep.
And so what are your thoughts on that? And what would your um, advices and recommendations be for people to not get too lost in that and only developing a game that wins, that is strategy based or competition based, things like that make it easy to win in competitions, but might not necessarily be the best jiu-jitsu they could have, and
Right.
and I'd just like to hear your thoughts on that, being that your style really stands out. um,
Yeah.
and so what do you think about those things? What are your ideas?
I mean, definitely. I think jiu-jitsu is there's a simple approach to it. Like you say, we're trying to pass a guard and submit, or we're trying to sweep or submit. One of the two. And I think when you keep it simple like that is when it makes it fun to watch. Where nowadays I feel people are too focused on not the submission and more of just the advantage or the points.
Hmm.
And honestly, I think that hurts jiu-jitsu sometimes. Where sometimes I'm watching some matches where I don't want to watch it anymore. Just because it's just in a dead stall or just boring. And when I was competing in through the lower belts, I never encountered 50-50, to be honest with you, or double guard pull. I've never seen that stuff until I became a black belt, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And when I started seeing that, it didn't make sense to me. And just a quick story, the kids' Pan Ams were about 2 weeks ago now, right? And I was at the kids' Pans coaching some of the kids that I coached down here in San Diego. And I overheard some kids talking in the crowd. Um, I'm not sure, where they were from or anything like that, but I overheard these two kids talking. They must have been no older than 13, 14 years old, somewhere around that age. And I hear one kid ask the other kid, "What's your favorite kind of guard?" And the kid responds by saying 50-50 guard. And when I heard that, I thought that was insane. I'm like, how is 50-50 guard your favorite kind of guard at 14 years old, 13 years old? I mean,
Yeah.
that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
So I think that the mentality of jiu-jitsu is changing today, in the aspect where it's more of a who can outscore the other person or who can maneuver around the score or the rules to win. Where I think it should be more of a straight up fight, and you're looking for the submission. Whoever taps who should be the winner. And I mean, there was one incident actually this past Worlds where I was competing and I got swept, and I swept my opponent right back, and I lost. I ended up losing the match by an advantage. And I asked the ref why I didn't get my sweep points, and they said because I swept back too fast, and that just
Right.
didn't
Right.
sit well with me. I
Yeah.
said, so I'm being penalized for sweeping someone back too fast. I mean, how does that make
Yeah.
any sense?
So just to clarify,
Uh,
instead of it being 2-2, the person just got an advantage because you came right
yes,
back. And so
yes,
instead of it
yes,
being even still, they're
yes.
supposedly ahead.
Exactly.
Right.
And to me, it just didn't make any sense.
Right.
You know,
And you're on top the whole time.
I'm on top the whole time, trying to
Right.
fight, trying to pass the guard. To my opponent's credit, he's a great guard, good jiu-jitsu, but that just didn't sit well with me after the tournament. And
Yeah. I even
I've
came
had
up and
my
talked to you about it. I even said I remember talking to you.
yeah. I mean, it just didn't sit well with me because it didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's especially when they told me because you swept him back too fast. I'm like, so how does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm attacking right off the bat. Isn't that what we should be doing? Isn't that what people like to see? Isn't that what jiu-jitsu is all about? So you're telling me I have to be attacked, wait a certain amount of time to attack back, or should I just fire right back? So I mean, I definitely do think some rules need to be changed or some rules need to be taken away, but something has to be changed in order for jiu-jitsu to keep progressing in the way it should be, and looking for the submission, looking to finish the fight. Because nowadays, jiu-jitsu has been growing so fast, and a lot of people are becoming very, very, very good at a high level, very high level jiu-jitsu. And because there's high level jiu-jitsu out there a lot more now, when people encounter other people like that, I think sometimes they don't want to open up because they're afraid to be submitted or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they figure out these little game plans to win by an advantage or win by 2 points, something like that. So definitely the rules need to be changed in a manner where it definitely promotes or pushes the fighters to get after it and attack some more and look for the submission, look for that finish.
Yeah, 100%. And I think what a lot of these people don't realize is that they're only hindering their own growth, especially when you're just a blue or purple. It's like,
Oh yeah.
You want to lose. You should lose. You got to take the risk. You got to open it up. I know you're scared of trying to pass that guard, but if you don't try, how are you gonna develop your passing skills? When I see two people laying on their butts and no one wants to come up, it's just like, how are you ever gonna get better? If you don't go for it. And and that's my biggest concern. Like your story about the at the kid's pan, hearing some of the teenagers talking, it's the future generations that have only known one style, that have only seen, obviously there's plenty of exceptions. We got guys like you, Hudolfo, Buchecha, many great fighters that we can see are pushing the pace, and there's lots of inspiration to be seen, but every now and then, you look at some tournaments and it can be hard. It can be hard to find the inspiration, and then the next generation are looking at these people that are winning in that fashion, and they don't know any different. So like when people are training, you kept it pretty simple. Like, hey, when you're playing guard, it's sweep or submit. When you're on top, it's pass or submit. But is there anything else in regards to the way people train? Maybe sometimes turning off the clock, sometimes not counting points. Sometimes getting out of your comfort zone and things like that. Are those things that you ever do, or are what advice could you give? It's particularly to the competitors out there. This is who we're really talking to. The competitors, and making sure that they don't just develop a game that can win in the sport, but that can also be the best, well-rounded, complete jiu-jitsu artists they can be in any situation. What advice would you have to give to these young guys coming up?
I mean, the biggest piece of advice I can give these guys is when it comes to training, forget about all these little maneuvers that can maybe get you a point or an advantage, and look for the opening to finish the fight. Because when you look for that opening and you push for that submission, believe it or not, even if you don't get the submission, that's how you end up scoring points, because the person's going to have to defend and give something up, whether it's their back, the guard pass. And then that's how you score, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So look for the submission day in and day out when it comes to training, because even these days, sometimes when I train with some of the lower belts, they're just trying to tie me up and wrap me up. I'm like, this is training. Try to submit me. I'm gonna try to submit you. That's how
Yeah.
we're both gonna get better. So that's my biggest advice out there when it comes to training. Focus 100% on the submission. 100%. There's actually a drill that Professor Gaval has us do sometimes where he'll take some of the lower belts, for example, maybe a blue belt, and he'll let the blue belt start with any submission he wants on me, which is encouraging the lower belts to hunt for the submission,
Mm-hmm.
And it also helps me defend too. But I like that because it's encouraging the lower belts to come up with that mentality of always attacking and looking for the finish.
Nice, awesome. Well, amen to that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, a couple more things I want to touch on. You're talking, you said a little bit earlier about, we talked about your world championship, goals and dreams, and you've been right there.
Yep.
But a finalist one time, and then was it two bronzes you have as well?
Two
Yeah.
bronze medals and a silver right now.
So you're one of a handful. Let's see. I mean, there's BJ, there's Garth,
Yep.
there's myself, and
Yep.
then there's you. I don't think Trans has been in the semifinals. Gianni semifinals, Keenan
Yep.
Tim semifinals. So you're one of
Yep.
four non-Brazilians to reach the finals of the Worlds.
Yep.
Obviously, it's the goal every year. It's going to be your goal again this year.
Oh yeah.
You're probably dreaming, thinking about it every training session. What
Oh yeah.
what does that mean to you? As one of the most likely candidates to be the next American to become a Mundial black belt world champion. What does that mean to you? And is it something that really drives you, or is it something American, Brazilian, whatever, doesn't really make a difference to you? Or how is that? How does that sit in your mind? I'm interested to hear.
I mean, that world title for me represents everything that I have set out for since I was a young kid. Setting up those little goals, winning a Naga, winning a blue belt division. It is going to sum everything up, and all the hard work I've put in over the years and sacrifice and moving, traveling. It's going to add up to that, and once I win that world title, it's going to tell me it's all well worth it. Which I know it is now, but it's gonna feel like that even 100 times more once I win that world title. And when it comes to it, for sure, I'm super excited to represent America when it comes to competing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like I said, guys like you motivated me to see you win that world title. I'm like, man, that is badass. And in a sport that's still pretty much dominated by Brazilians. Of course, I want to win and put another win for America up there. And I love it. I love the challenge. To me, it's fun. And of course, I might have to beat some Americans along the way, which to me is awesome too, because the sport's only getting better and bigger, and more opponents from different countries are competing now. But I'm definitely excited to rep America out there and put it on the map, and just to show the world that jiu-jitsu is growing, and it's growing all over the world. And I hope one day to see a Japanese fighter do it and a European fighter do it, and so on and so forth.
Awesome. Well, if there's anyone out there that's capable of doing it 100%, we all believe in you, and know that you're going to be out there fighting your ass off for it and giving everything you have, just like usual.
Oh yeah.
So, now that the season, we're getting deeper and deeper. You mentioned the Pan. Is that what's next for you?
Yeah, that's my next goal right now is the Pan Ams.
You're the current champ. You beat
Yep.
AJ last year. It was incredible to have two Americans in the finals.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And so that's awesome. You're going to be there, defending your title.
Yes, sir.
And then after that, World Pro or just Worlds. Anything else in store?
I'm looking to go out to Abu Dhabi this year for sure for that World Pro. To me, that's another awesome title, and plus, you can win some cash too. So I'm definitely looking to make that trip this year out to the World Pro right after Pan Am's, and then right into the Worlds.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, just slightly off topic, I want to make sure that we were able to talk about this because I see your work that you're doing online, and one thing I think is super cool is to see guys getting into different businesses and following their goals and dreams in other aspects of their lives, not just in
Oh
martial
yeah,
arts. And I see that you have the tattoo, and
yep,
you've been representing the Perseverance, right?
yep,
But
yep.
you have what is that Latin that you have?
Latin, yeah,
Yeah,
it's in Latin.
and you started the clothing company Persevantia. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, yeah, Perseverantia.
Persevantia.
Um, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's a little project I started maybe about, I want to say, a year ago now, a little over a year ago, and it all started when I got this tattoo a couple years ago, and it was just a little reminder just to tell me, never give up, always keep going forward, and no matter what. And a couple years later, I said, you know what, I've always liked, you know, fashion. I've always liked it. Before I was a big fan of skateboarding, and skateboarding obviously carries a big streetwear because you're out there skateboarding in the streets. And then, I've always been into basketball, and because of basketball, I got into sneakers. So I've always been interested in that kind of stuff. So I said, you know what, let me throw my hand in it. Let me try to start a little something. And I started my own clothing company, Perseverantia Co. And I made 2 T-shirts, a hat, and it went pretty well. I've only got a couple T-shirts left in my closet. I've sold pretty much everything, and now I'm just looking to make some new product. And right now I'm super focused on the Worlds and all that, but definitely this summer I'm gonna look to re-up it again and put some new stuff out there, and hopefully people keep enjoying it.
I think that's really cool. Definitely see you looking pretty fresh on your social media.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's cool, man. Keep it up. Um, well, if people were interested in ordering some T-shirts, or if there's
Yeah.
anything else, any other sponsors or websites that you'd like to plug, feel free. Go ahead, do that now.
Yeah, so for my clothing website, it's going to be PRSBTCO.com. You guys can go out there, check it out, grab yourself a T-shirt. Like I said, I only got a couple left, so whatever's left over in my closet is going to be on the website. And then I got to give a huge shout out to Tatami Fightwear. I mean, they've been sponsoring me now for the last couple years. I think we first started our relationship back in 2011 when I fought ADCC in Nottingham. They made me a really cool rash guard and shorts with the spider webs on it and JT on there. So, I mean, they really believed in me, for the last couple of years now, and really supported me, and they're really helping me accomplish my dream, because we all know we need support in this sport to help us do what we want to do. So, huge shout out to them. And actually, we're right about to release Perseverantia gi through Tatami, so
Oh,
I'm
cool,
super
cool.
excited for that. Yeah, so stay on the lookout for that. Hopefully, I'll be wearing that gi while I win my world title this June. So that's what I'm looking to do. And then the Armbar Soap Company, always keeping me fresh and clean. And huge shout out also to Fokai Industries, all the way out from Guam. Those guys have been showing me love since I was a brown belt, bringing me out to go fight Asian Open and things like that. So, I really appreciate all the support, guys. I really do. And also make sure to follow me on Instagram, JT Torres BJJ. Also on Twitter and Facebook, it's all the same, JT Torres BJJ. And just stay up to date with me, and follow my adventures on winning this world title.
Nice, man. Awesome. Well, real fast before we get off here, I also just want to do a little shout out for all those that are interested in what's coming up next for me. I just want to let them know
Yeah.
I have a big super match this Friday, March 4th.
Nice.
I'll be getting my first bit of competition in for the year. I'll be facing Ricardo Deminch Abreu, who I'm
Nice.
very motivated for this challenge. A lot of respect for him. He's one of the best guys from my generation. He's in the finals a couple years in a row with Hajer, World Pro champion. Has a very great all around game, and he's a guy that is very offensive, always moving forward. So I've trained really, really hard for this match. Excited to get after it. It's submission only. If there's no submission, they'll make a decision. And but as everyone knows, I'll do my best to not make that happen and go for it.
Oh yeah.
And so that's going to be this Friday. It's for the Fight to Win Pro Jiu-Jitsu 3. This is their third Pro Jiu-Jitsu card. They're doing really cool things. It's a really nice production. We're going to have a raised mat, walkout song, and, a whole, the real like event vibe. And so I'm really excited for that. But they're doing great work, and I'd like for everyone out there to please support them, and their efforts to take pro jiu-jitsu to the front, where we can showcase our skills on a higher level and be able to make money and things like that. And so for everyone that's interested in watching that this Friday, March 4th, you can go to the number 2W. So that's Fight to Win, F2W, BJJ.com, and order the stream through there. It's $14.99. They're going to have over 20 matches, lots of black belts, some lower belts as well, like purple and brown. A lot of the top regional talent out here in the Texas area, and then me and Ricardo are going to battle for the main event, and going to put on a show for you guys. So make sure to check that out this Friday. And make sure to follow JT and all his pursuits, and guys, check him out for seminars and things like that. And check him out at the Pan. That's coming up right around the corner. And lastly, before we close out, I also want to plug our sponsor, Save Jiu-Jitsu, supporter, good friends over at jiu-jitsu.com. They're doing really nice things, bringing in a lot of different instructional material and connecting people through jiu-jitsu. It's a really cool thing what they're doing over there, and I'm a big part of it. You can see a lot of my instructional work on there. And all that. So anyways, JT, thank you very much for taking time out of your day to talk with us.
My pleasure.
That was a really awesome interview, and we'll look forward to putting that out there for everybody. And we wish you all the best, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you. It's been an honor. Appreciate it.
Thanks, JT.